Good. You're awake. Feeling any better now?
Huh? You're no wolf! You're a stinking coyote!
Well, I'll be damned. I'm afraid you've got me there. You learn something new every day, my friend. Indeed, I am a purebred coyote, a regular bastard dog that cries out for his mother with each passing night. Now, don't tell me, you're a wolf, am I right?
My pup! Where the hell is he? What did you do to my son, you bastard dog?
Oh, relax yourself. I didn't fancy the furball a meal, if that's what you're implying. The little pup is in all one piece up here, sound asleep. He sure is the cute little one. I suppose we're all innocent looking at that age. Until we're forced to look upon the harsh realities of our life, learning we must kill to survive. That's when our innocence is snatched away from us.
Stay away from him!
Oh, very nice. But I must say your policies for thanking other creatures when help is provided is quite baffling to the better of my knowledge.
Did you misunderstand something when you helped me? Or are you just playing mad?
Well, I've always had difficulty understanding things to their full intent, leaving me to behave rather irrational at times. But I prefer myself to be labeled as just plain troubled. Not everything on top is working with total perfection. Never really has. But what can I say? Being alone for most of your days begins to take its toll on you after a while. You might find yourself making friendly conversation with your mind before long. And who knows? Maybe even a passing common enemy could be viewed as a way of relieving the loneliness you find yourself surrounded by with each passing day.
Stop playing with my head! Why did you help me?
Because it rather looked like you were in desperate need of some. Or is that not enough to satisfy you? What? You think I had some ulterior motive for helping you?
Well, didn't you?
Oh, that is so predictable of your kind. I should have known you wouldn't be just plain grateful. Oh no, that would be hoping for far too much now, wouldn't it? Look, I survived in this territory on my own for many years now. I don't like it when I see something that's out of place. And that's definitely what I saw when I first caught sight of you out here, more dead than alive. Would it have been more expected of me to leisurely pass by, kick some dirt on you, maybe relieve myself on your head to see if you were alive enough to even acknowledge it? Please, tell me, so I know how to properly plan for these sort of situations in the future.
Look, I'm sorry. Maybe you had noble intentions, and I thank you for that. I really do. But I think you're slightly misguided. Have you forgotten that we're enemies?
You're mistaken yet again. Our species are common enemies. We aren't. At least we don't have to be. Look, I'm not going to deliberately go out of my way to try and discover a sensible reason for which to hate you by. That would be rather foolish and thick-headed on my part. But if you wish to stick to your narrow-minded views on how we're supposed to behave in each other's presence, then please, have at it. And if it's not too much trouble, let me know when you locate a logical reason to view me as an enemy. Lord knows I wouldn't have a difficult time looking for a few to think of about you.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Huh. Well, I'm glad to see I'm not the only one out here who has problems understanding things. Let me tell you something. I never wanted to view you as just part of the whole. You see, when your kind took over these parts during the passing cold times, you drove a great number of species from it in the process, my own family included. I hated you rotten bastards for it, always will. But that was how I felt about your kind as a whole. I never wanted to believe that every single one of you was as rotten and cruel as that bastard of a leader of yours. My heart was already filled with enough hate and sorrow. There was no point to add on to it by viewing all of you as my enemies when I knew that wasn't the case.
How did you know that I was from Cain's pack?
I figured you weren't a loner based on your rather obvious inexperience. Besides, his awful scent is crawling all over you. I know that goddamn stink anywhere. After Cain claimed rights to this territory, he found it fitting to lift his back leg to each and every grain of dirt and patch of grass out here. My poor nose can no longer pleasure itself with taking in the welcoming fragrance of the wildflowers and the crisp night air, without catching wind of his uninviting scent in the process. He's also made hunting out here a real challenge as well. It seems more difficult to find the fresh scent of a creature suitable as being labeled prey with each new day. Not really surprising, though. Wolves never know their limits with filling themselves, never did. However, I'm rather surprised with the lack of meat on your bones, young one.
Well, Kay makes sure to feed himself plenty after the hunt. Then the top hunters in the pack take their fair share next. By the time it comes down to the weakest and youngest members of the pack, myself included in that number, there barely seems to be enough for just one of us to make a decent-sized meal out of. Kane seems to view us bottom feeders as expendable anyway, considering the size of his numbers. I decided to leave the pack with my son before it got to be too much to bear.
Well, embracing the life of a loner is a rather bold move for any creature to undertake. You'll find it to be quite the challenge when it comes time to hunt. Rather than relying on the support of an entire group effort, the burden lies solely on you. It all rests with the trust you have in your own fangs. It's also important to make the most of each prey you manage to treat yourself to. You never know when you'll be privileged again with the welcoming sight of another fresh piece of meat. Trust me, this is not the life I desired by choice. I had a family once. They're all alive and well in a better place now. At least they were the last time I caught sight of them.
What happened to them?
After we were driven from our territory by Cain, we had to search for a new land to claim for ourselves. I had obvious difficulty keeping up with the rest of my family during our journey. Being the runt of my litter made it rather easy for me to fall behind on more than one occasion. My legs were embarrassingly shorter, and I wasn't quite as well built as the rest of my family. So, one time I fell behind a bit too far, and the others decided not to wait for me to catch up. They just kept moving forward, never turning back once. They must have felt they were making the right decision for the better of the pack. I think they made the right decision. I mean, if I couldn't prove myself worthy with the simple task of keeping up with the rest of my family, then imagine of how low use I would be to them when it would really matter. I didn't want that. I couldn't let them down that much. I certainly hadn't provided my fair share of helping out on the hunts. I was far too clumsy to catch anything that moved. I was nothing more than dead weight in their eyes. I want to believe that it was for the best. They left me behind out of pure necessity, and that's all.
Don't you want to be with them, though?
Of course I do. I have 2 older brothers and 3 sisters I miss a great deal. Every single day. There are still some lonely nights where I find myself calling out to them from the bottom of my soul, hoping they'd race back to my side with joy in their eyes. To be honest, though, I'm afraid. I've grown so used to this territory now that I'm not even sure I could survive outside of it. Being on my own for this long has actually done me a lot of good. I finally learned I couldn't rely on anyone but myself. So I only had myself to disappoint as well. I forced myself to grow up and survive, regardless how the situation appeared to be against me. I have my family to thank for that. They helped me find my feet and taught me how to use them as well. The thing is, I was alone throughout all of this. And when I saw you tonight, I really saw myself all those days long departed us. I didn't want you to be alone the way I was. I knew I had to help you, like it was a sense of responsibility on my part, regardless of how apart our bloodlines were. And that's why I helped you tonight. But I can never go back to my own pack at this point. Even if I were to gather enough courage to seek them out, there's no guarantee they'd ever accept me back, family or not. I'm sure they've learned to move on without me as part of their family. This is my life now. I've learned to accept it as the loner I am. And given time, so will you.